बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। अस्सलाम वालेकुम। आई एम डॉक्टर मोहम्मद सलीम इकबाल, असिस्टेंट प्रोफेसर ऑफ सर्जरी, डिप्टी कंट्रोलर एग्जामिनेशन इन फैसलाबाद मेडिकल यूनिवर्सिटी फैसलाबाद, certified in medical teaching. Today I am going to discuss an important topic of hemorrhage and blood transfusion. But before I start discussion on this important topic, I will request you all, please subscribe my channel. Classification of hemorrhage. Hemorrhage is classified based on the source of bleeding, based on the time of onset of bleeding in relation to any operative procedure, and it may be classified according to type of hemorrhage. Based on the source of bleeding, arterial blood is bright red in color, spurting like jet along with pulse of patient. Venous bleeding, venous blood is dark red, steady and continuous. Blood loss may be severe and rapid when bleeding from major vein. Pulmonary arterial blood is dark red in color and pulmonary venous blood is bright red in color. Capillary hemorrhage, here bleeding is rapid and bright red. It is often torrential due to continuous oozing. Based on the time of onset of bleeding in relation to any operative procedure. Primary hemorrhage, that occurs at the time of injury or operation. Reactionary hemorrhage, it occurs within 24 hours after surgery or after injury. It usually occurs in 4 to 6 hours after surgery. Predisposing factors for reactionary hemorrhage are slipping of ligature, which may be due to coughing, excessive movement, vomiting. Sometimes performing surgery in hypotensive patient and sudden rise in blood pressure post-operatively leads to reactionary hemorrhage. Dislodgement of clots, cessation of reflex vasospasm, straining after major abdominal surgeries, restlessness in patient after surgery, venous refilling during recovery from anesthesia. Secondary hemorrhage, it usually occurs in 10 to 14 days after surgery. Predisposing factors are pressure of drainage tube, bone fragments, infected area, carcinoma. Classification of hemorrhage based on the type of hemorrhage. Revealed hemorrhage, it is visible external hemorrhage. Concealed hemorrhage, it constitutes internal hemorrhage, for example in liver injury, splenic injury, fracture femur, ruptured ectopic pregnancy, cerebral hemorrhage, hemothorax. Initially concealed but later revealed, for example hematuria, hematemesis and melena. Now I will discuss how we can measure blood loss. Clot size of a clenched fist is equal to 500 ml of blood. Blood loss in a closed tibial fracture is 500 to 1500 ml, and in a fracture of femur it is 1000 to 2000 ml, and in pelvic fracture it is equal to 2 to 3 liters. Then by weighting of swabs, swabs are weighed before and after use, and it is an important method of assessment of blood loss. Total amount of blood loss is equal to total difference in swab weight multiplied by 1.5, and for larger wounds and larger operation, total difference in swab weight is multiplied by 2. What are signs of significant blood loss? pulse rate more than 100 per minute, systolic blood pressure less than 100 millimeter of mercury, diastolic blood pressure drop on sitting or standing more than 10, pallor, sweating, shock index more than 1. Shock index is a bedside assessment defined as heart rate divided by systolic blood pressure with a normal range of 0.5 to 0.7 in healthy adults. Other classification of hemorrhage. Class 1 hemorrhage is exemplified by the condition of an individual who has donated a unit of blood. And in class 1 hemorrhage, blood loss is less than 750 ml, blood volume loss is less than 15%, heart rate is less than 100, blood pressure, pulse pressure and capillary refill remains normal, and fluid management is by crystalloids. In class 2 hemorrhage, it is an uncomplicated hemorrhage for which crystalloid fluid resuscitation is required and blood loss is equal to 750 to 1500 ml, blood volume loss is 15 to 30%, heart rate will be more than 100, blood pressure may be normal, pulse pressure will be decreased, capillary refill will be more than 2 seconds, and this patient will also be managed by crystalloids and the treatment of the cause. Class 3 hemorrhage is a complicated hemorrhage state in which at least crystalloid infusion and blood replacement is required. Blood loss in class 3 hemorrhage is 1500 to 2000 ml. Blood volume loss will be 30 to 40%. Heart rate will be more than 120. Blood pressure and pulse pressure will be decreased. Patient will have urine output of 5 to 15 ml per hour. Capillary refill will be more than 2 seconds and you have to give blood and crystalloids. In class 4 hemorrhage, it is a pre-terminal event. Unless very aggressive measurements are taken, the patient will die within minutes and blood loss will be more than 2000 ml, blood volume loss more than 40%, heart rate will be more than 140, blood pressure and pulse pressure will be decreased. This patient will have respiratory rate more than 35, urine output will be negligible, and this patient will be confused and lethargic. Don't be afraid of difficulties in life because difficult roads often lead to beautiful destinations. Next topic is blood transfusion, its complication and blood components. Whole blood is only indicated for the treatment of acute hemorrhage. Hypovolemia is accompanied by an acute reduction in red cell mass resulting in impaired oxygen carrying capacity at a time when tissue perfusion is compromised. Stored blood has a number of unwanted features. It is low in calcium, it has a lot of citrate anticoagulant, it has acidic pH, it has high level of potassium from the stored red blood cells, ammonia from erythrocyte adenosine, low levels of coagulation factors, less RBCs, less platelets, reduced red cell 2,3 diphosphoglycerate, which leads to impaired release of oxygen from oxyhemoglobin. Complications of transfusion of blood and blood products: congestive cardiac failure, transfusion reactions. Transfusion reactions may be incompatibility, which are major and minor reactions, pyrexial reactions due to pyrogen ingredients in the blood, allergic reactions, sensitization to leukocytes and platelets, immunological sensitization. Infections transmitted are hepatitis, HIV infections, bacterial infections, malarial transmission, Epstein-Barr virus infection, cytomegalovirus infection, etc. Next, air embolism, thrombophlebitis, coagulation failure due to dilution of clotting factors, disseminated intravascular coagulation, dilutional thrombocytopenia occurs in patient with massive blood transfusion. Next complication is circulatory overload that causes heart failure, hemochromatosis in patients receiving repeated blood transfusions, citrate intoxication that leads to bradycardia and hypocalcemia. For every 2 to 4 units of blood, 10 ml of calcium gluconate should be infused intravenously. Now I will discuss complications briefly. First complication which I will discuss is febrile reaction. Febrile reaction is most common immune reaction. Usually it is related to either cytokines or donor leukocytes or impurities like pyrogens in the blood or in the infusion sets, or a mild antibody response. Usually it is self-limited. It can be prevented by leukodepletion and pre-transfusion of antipyretics. Headache, fever, chills and rigors, tachycardia, nausea are the features. Transfusion is temporarily stopped or flow is slowed down with administration of antipyretic drugs to reduce fever. Often transfusion of that unit needs to be discontinued. Second is allergic reaction. Urticaria and allergy to specific proteins in the donor's plasma can occur. Usually it is mild and is treated with steroid and antihistamines. In severe urticaria, that unit of blood is discarded. New washed RBCs and platelets are used. Next is acute hemolytic reactions. It is the most dangerous complication. It is due to ABO incompatibility. Usually it is non-fatal, but occasionally it can be fatal. It is commonly due to technical error at different levels. Intravascular destruction causes hemoglobinemia, hemoglobinuria, acute renal failure and DIC. Dyspnea, chest pain, sweating, fever with chills, tachycardia, hypotension and cardiac arrest occurs in fetal type. Smoky urine of patient is typical. Jaundice is common feature in non-fatal type. Free hemoglobin level in blood will be above 5 mg per deciliter. This condition is treated as an emergency. Transfusion should be stopped immediately. Blood samples of recipient and transfusing blood is sent immediately for 2 laboratories for checking. Injections of hydrocortisone and dexamethasone is given. Fluid therapy should be given. Alkalization of blood should be done with sodium lactate and sodium bicarbonate. Mannitol and furosemide should be injected intravenously. Hemodialysis is needed if there is renal failure. Often ventilator support, defibrillator if cardiac arrest occurs is needed. Correction of acidosis, electrolyte is needed. Report incidents to blood transfusion department. Return unit to blood transfusion department. Establish that unit has been issued to the patient receiving it. Obtain fresh sample of patient blood for recross matching and serological testing. Send samples of blood unit for culture. Discuss any further transfusion requirements with blood transfusion officer. Again, briefly about management of transfusion reactions. Minor transfusion reactions, that is fever and urticarial rash, management is observation and antihistamines. Major transfusion reaction, fever, chill, hypotension, bleeding in previously dry area, hemoglobinuria, decreased urine output. This patient should be managed with immediate cessation of transfusion. Send the unit of blood back to blood bank for recross match. Volume expander should be given and mannitol and Lasix should be advised. Ability is what you are capable of doing. Motivation determines what you do. Attitude determines how well you do it. Delayed hemolytic reaction. It usually takes 3 to 7 days to manifest. Signs and symptoms include fever, malaise, hyperbilirubinemia, and decreasing hematocrit. Usually it is related to minor antibody systems such as RS system, usually but not always preventable with recipient antibody screening. Treatment includes hydration and supportive care. Now, briefly about transfusion related acute lung injury. It is due to donor plasma antibody against HLA and leukocyte specific antigens for recipient. Occasionally, it is due to recipient's antibody against donor's leukocyte. Features are breathlessness, saturation drop, fever, hypotension, which is observed 4 hours after transfusion. Chest X-ray shows bilateral diffuse infiltrate. They need ventilator support for short period with eventual rapid and complete recovery. Next is transfusion related graft versus host disease. This very serious, very rare complication occurs due to recognition and reaction against host tissues by infused donor lymphocytes. It is common in immunosuppressed lymphoma and leukemia patients. Any type of blood products including leukocytes, reduced blood can cause the condition. Features are pancytopenia, toxic epidermal necrosis, and liver dysfunction with more than 90% mortality. It is very difficult to treat. Next is congestive cardiac failure. It occurs if especially large quantities of whole blood are transfused in chronic severe anemia, pregnancy, elderly patients, in patients who have cardiac problems. Next is electrolyte disturbances. Hyperkalemia, laced cells can cause hyperkalemia. Hypocalcemia, citrate in stored blood can bind calcium and leads to hypocalcemia. Then disease transmission, as I have already described. Next component is massive blood transfusion. Massive blood transfusion is defined as that which is equivalent to or exceeds the patient on blood volume within 24 hours. Or massive transfusion is defined as more than 10 units of blood over 24 hours, roughly equivalent to one patient's blood volume for an average weight person. It carries high morbidity and mortality rates because of underlying conditions that necessitates the massive blood transfusion, and to a lesser extent because of adverse acute changes that are caused by rapid transfusion of large amounts of cold stored blood. The nature of underlying condition and age of patient largely determine the survival. Pre-existing renal and liver disease and old age delay recovery. Metabolic consequences of massive blood transfusions include hypothermia. Hypothermia may lead to cardiac arrhythmias including ventricular fibrillation and asystole. For this reason, patient warming, heating, blankets and blood warming are necessary if the transfusion rate exceeds 50 ml per minute. Then acidosis, then hyperkalemia, then increased affinity of transfused hemoglobin for oxygen due to reduced 2,3-diphosphoglycerate, thereby contributing to tissue hypoxia. And next is citrate intoxication, clotting factors and other blood components deficiencies. It arises as a result of massive blood transfusions. Clotting factor deficiency, especially factor 5 and factor 8 deficiency, thrombocytopenia, disseminated intravascular coagulation, reduced plasma colloid osmotic pressure. Stored blood is deficient in these factors. Other complication is acute respiratory distress syndrome. It may complicate massive blood transfusion and is multifactorial. Its incidence is influenced by underlying condition, sepsis or major trauma, but microemboli from white cell and platelets aggregate and reduce plasma oncotic pressure can contribute to the development of this syndrome. ARDS can develop as a result of transfusion related acute lung injury. Then circulatory overload. Massive blood transfusion may cause circulatory overload and precipitate congestive cardiac failure, especially in old age patients. What is safe massive blood transfusion? The modern practice of safe massive blood transfusion consists of replacing and maintaining blood volume by RBC packs, use store blood less than 14 days old, hemostatic resuscitation by administering 1:1:1 ratio, that is equal part of packed red blood cells, FFP and platelets, maintaining oxygen carrying capacity, keeping patient warm with heating coils on the blood circuits and heated blankets, correcting or avoiding metabolic complications, maintaining a normal plasma protein concentration. DIC is presumed if the thrombin time is more than double the control value. In these cases, 10 units of cryoprecipitates are administered in addition to FFP to correct the deficiency of clotting factors. What are blood products? A blood product is any component of blood which is collected from a donor for use in a blood transfusion. Whole blood is uncommonly used in transfusion at present. Most blood products consist of specific processed components such as red blood cells, blood plasma or platelets. Briefly about fresh frozen plasma. Each unit is obtained from a single donation and consists of 200 to 300 ml of plasma with 40 to 60 ml of citrate anticoagulant nutrient mixture. The plasma protein in FFP are in similar concentration to those in normal plasma. FFP is stored at minus 40 degrees centigrade to minus 50 degrees centigrade, and with this frozen storage has shelf life of 2 years. It is thawed rapidly at 37 degrees centigrade immediately before use and infused intravenously through a standard blood component transfusion set containing an online filter. ABO blood group of FFP must be compatible with that of recipient. The infusion of 1 unit of FFP should be completed within 4 hours of thawing. FFP is used in following clinical conditions and situations: to correct isolated plasma protein deficiencies, that is isolated deficiencies of factor 2, 5, 7, 10, 11 and 13, pseudocholine esterase, antithrombin 3 and C1 esterase inhibitors; to reverse oral anticoagulation with warfarin coumarin compounds if prothrombin complex concentrate is not available. Normally, reversal of anticoagulant is indicated in the presence of bleeding. In patient with liver disease, major hepatic resection and severe liver injuries, to provide hemostatic support and to cover operations and interventions. In the treatment of patient with DIC, to replace factors consumed by pathological process. In patients who develop a bleeding diathesis after large volume blood transfusion, in this situation, however, platelet transfusion is more commonly needed first. In the treatment of thrombotic thrombocytopenic purpura, in which FFP is usually combined with plasma exchange. Briefly about cryoprecipitate. Cryoprecipitate is a concentrate of factor 8, 1 Willebrand's factor and fibrinogen, and it is obtained by freezing and thawing plasma. 1 unit of cryoprecipitate consists of 20 ml containing 150 to 300 milligram of fibrinogen and 80 to 120 international unit of factor 8. It is stored at minus 40 degrees centigrade to minus 50 degrees centigrade, and at this temperature it has shelf life of 2 years. It is thawed rapidly at 37 degrees centigrade immediately before use and infusion should be completed within 4 hours of time. Cryoprecipitate is used for following conditions: fibrinogen deficiency and dysfibrinogenemia, uremic bleeding, and Willebrand disease. Now I will discuss about transfusion alternatives. Number 1, pre-operative autologous blood transfusion or blood donation. Blood is pre-donated 3 to 5 weeks before surgery. Blood can be stored for up to 35 days. A starting hemoglobin over 11 grams per deciliter is necessary. Additional iron supplementation should be taken pre-operatively due to collecting several units of blood within a few weeks. The main benefit is avoidance of viral and immunological risks. Number 2 is autologous blood cell salvage. Blood lost during surgery is collected, filtered, and returned to the patient. Beneficial in operation typified by substantial blood loss. Should not be used if there is bacterial contamination of operating field. Third is artificial oxygen carrying solutions, RBC substitutes. It is divided into two main groups: hemoglobin based oxygen carriers and perfluorocarbons based oxygen carriers. They utilizes HBOCS utilizes purified human, animal, and recombinant hemoglobins, while perfluorocarbon based oxygen carriers use perfluorinated carbons, chemically and biologically inert liquids with high gas solubility. Sorry. Fourth is acute normovolemic hemodilution. Immediately before surgery, usually following induction with anesthesia, 1000 ml of bloods are removed with replacement of blood volume by crystalloids with monitoring of central venous pressure. The blood is given to the patient if and when it is needed during or after surgery. Acute normovolemic hemodilution is useful in fit patients if a substantial blood loss is anticipated during surgery. The patient's initial hemoglobin is high and a relatively low target hemoglobin is acceptable. In today's lecture, I have discussed basic concepts of hemorrhage and blood transfusion, its complication, blood components. I hope you have learned. I have prepared my lecture from my book Surgical Tutor. I dedicate this lecture to my professor, Professor Dr. Zafar Ali Chaudhry, who is my mentor, and he is always a source of motivation and encouragement for me. At last, I am very thankful to you for careful listening. Take care, stay blessed. Allah Hafiz.